Oh, good.
All right. So there,
Great.
good. This seems very strange because I'm in summer mode.
You mean the background or like life in general?
Life in general, I can't guarantee anything about my state of mind.
Oh, that's great. No, no, that's I know what you mean though. It's like I was wondering earlier, like how you prepared and if you were kind of on during the course and then you let go of everything afterwards or
Well,
uh
it sort of depends. Yeah, that's a good question, which I'm not sure I can. Yeah, it depends sometimes.
uh-huh.
Yeah, but I'm really in summer mode here. Anyway, how are you?
No, yeah, you look more relaxed. I can even see like you just have like a calmer, more relaxed face, I
Well,
think.
I'm working on that as a standard, yeah, as a standard thing. Well, I haven't talked to anybody. Well, no, I mean I was in Cambridge for that thing,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, so it's yeah, it's morning and gardening time. And what are we doing anyway?
That's the question I ask myself every day when I get out of bed. It's
Yeah, okay. All
yeah, no,
right.
I
But
just wanted to
what
talk.
did I tell you? Why am I here? What did I tell you I was agree? What did I agree to do?
So just talk about the music course, really,
Okay.
and
That I'm really interested in the a musical cosmology in the ancient sense, the medieval sense, the pre-Socratic sense, and maybe the postmodern sense. Um, so what we're flirting with is thinking about sound and music in terms yeah, this is the way to say it, I think, in terms of what Henri Corbin called a
the course,
psychocosmology.
really,
Okay.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's because I just thought it was so fun, and your uh, your work, it's so amazing. I only heard about you through John Vervaeke, just to give you some context on how I think I said this before, but um, in hindsight, after I've like seen your work, I'm like, oh, everyone should know this guy because it's so awesome. And Henry Corbin is so interesting. And
I'm delighted to hear that. Yeah, I did a thing. I did a YouTube thing with Vervaeke, but I don't know his work. I have to. I mean, the relationship isn't truly reciprocal because it was somebody, not you,
he's
who's
Jared
been.
Morningstar, I think.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, yes. um, and so I said, yeah, sure. If you want to arrange it, that's fine. And so we talked, and I don't know. I had a good time, but I can't say that I know what he's up to, Vervaeke. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but at any rate, I'm glad that we connected and that it's been interesting for you. And well, you know what'll happen. Just stop me anytime. But I'm thinking, did so? Have you gotten the story from the podcast about the conference in Cambridge? Did you
You
hear?
mentioned it, but I haven't heard anything since that. Because I remember you saying you were excited because there was people that worked with Corbin and just a bunch of
Yeah.
experts and things. So that's what I remember taking away.
Well, I will talk about.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
let me just catch you up
Please, yeah.
with the music thing. Ah, which is problematic. It's. I mean, I don't mean it's problematic, but I was. I am trying to decide, and it'll take all summer, whether to do another explicitly musical course.
Uh-huh.
And originally I thought, well, yeah, I will because I like it.
Yeah, yeah. I figured you must have done four of them. Do you feel like you
Yeah.
mined everything out of it, or it's
Well,
running through?
no, hardly.
Okay.
But the way this stuff goes is if I'm going to teach it, it has to be something I'm currently engaged in
Uh-huh.
one way or another. So there's one set of constraints, and then the other is, will anybody sign up for this course?
Uh-huh.
And I usually manage to snag a few people, which is perfect.
Is the
So
Hillman one
I
much more popular? Just because I've never sat in on that one. That was the other one running.
I actually thought I was going to get more people in the Hillman course, but it's the luck of the draw because
Yeah.
it's a relatively thank God for the internet and
Yeah,
Zoom
yeah.
because it's a relatively small audience that of people who think they're interested in what I'm interested in.
Yeah, yeah.
As you said a minute ago, I think there are a lot more people who would be interested if they knew, but they don't. So
Well, that's the
that's,
yeah, it's a whole different marketing. You're a great scientist and
but
thinker
I'm
and
not a very
creative,
good
but the
marketer.
marketing, yeah, you always Jerry Seinfeld is one of the few people that dances both well, like creative
Okay.
and
Yeah,
business like.
well, and then the other, I mean, so sometimes I bemoan the fact that I only get 6 or 8 people, or sometimes
Uh-huh.
sometimes 4.
Yeah, yeah.
On the other hand, although I mean, I am interested in the money.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah, of
I
course.
can't deny that. But in all honesty, it's not the primary thing. If it were the
I would think,
primary
yeah.
thing, I'd do everything I could, pull out all the marketing stops, or I'd
Uh-huh.
hire somebody to do that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but I've just been so delighted over the past, whatever it is, 3 years or something, with these lovely classes of people who are self-selected
Mm-hmm.
and and are just into it. And so I don't have a
Yeah.
problem. I don't have a problem with small.
Yeah, you get to
The
keep the community
first
that's
time I
passionate, right?
did,
You're like a comedian that you don't
yeah,
want to be too big, and then these
yeah,
people are like grumbling afterwards. So you want the people that know you and
right.
seek you out, and
That sounds very, very much like the nothing from which everything comes in Corbin's universe. In Corbin's psychocosmology, I'm not sure how much of this to bring in here, but in Corbin's ideal of the medieval universe, it's God, which is not a term I like to use. It's the cloud of unknowing. Let's do that. That's the best. That's the best. I hate to use the word God because Corbin often doesn't. He shies away from it. Just call it the divine cloud of unknowing, from which everything is sourced. So she's using that, something at least akin to religious, in this very, very, very broad sense, because if you're making a creation myth, you're not really distinguishing religion from philosophy.
out
and,
and
and it, well, yeah, I mean, I taught full time
uh-huh.
for quite a while, a couple of decades, I suppose, by the time it's all done. And I just have absolutely no patience whatsoever for people who don't want to be there,
Sure.
and
That's I teach as well, just to like bond a little
yeah,
bit.
you know what
And the
that's like.
students that show up that are like, "What? Yeah, oh, like that's
Oh,
the worst. It
you're
demoralizes
paused. I don't
you."
know if it.
Oh, it might have lagged a second.
Oh yeah,
It's
no,
demoralizing to
and
have students like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and well, we don't have to go there, but
Sure.
I have I have several stories of people who started out, students in the real life, who started out with a chip on their shoulder, and I eventually brought around, and they had a wonderful time, and that's
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
that's great, but
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have the energy to do that kind of fighting anymore. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a whole footnote. The point was that it doesn't matter to me how many people take the musicologies course. As long as there's a couple that show up, then that's fine. But then, but the substantive stuff here. This was super interesting. Ah. So I've already committed. I'm backing in here because the interesting stuff I'll tell you in a minute.
Yeah, take
But
your time.
I've already committed to doing a 1 or 2 hour lecture discussion for the Atlanta Jung Society.
Oh, cool. When's that?
That was from Roger, I think, whose name escapes me at the moment, but my longtime student Roger, who's from the Atlanta area, and I think he connected them with me.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, the point is that I agree. I told them that I would talk about music. I would talk about music and cosmology.
Uh-huh.
So I'm stuck. I have to do that now. And it's actually kind of a funny story because you'll appreciate this. So I don't know anything about the Atlanta young people,
Uh-huh.
but I have spoken for a large number of Jungian groups of one
Yeah.
sort or another, and they're always an interesting crowd because there's always the people. Let's call them the people on the right who got into Jung because they seriously needed something to get them out of their little rational traps,
Okay.
but they love, and I went through this process
Yeah,
myself, so
yeah.
I'm not being critical of these people
Uh-huh.
because I know where they're coming from, but there's always like the engineering types.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, yeah, and so they want everything to fit into the little Jungian system
Uh-huh.
that they are at least transiently adopting in order to keep from going insane. So there's always
Okay.
a few guys who want to know how everything you say fits in with the Jungian scheme.
Okay.
And then on the left side of the
Yeah, yeah.
group, there's always the people who are crazy
That's so funny.
and are really out there. And it's over there that you run into the people who know Hillman.
Huh.
So it's always a really interesting group. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
No, because there's people picking up on everything and
yeah,
they're just
yeah,
absorbing like a ball of yarn on a dirty floor. They're just
yeah.
sucking it
That's
all in. And then
yeah.
you've got these people that just want to fit it into what
Yes,
they
into
want
their
to see the
yeah.
world as. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Huh.
and and so I'm always sensitive to the fact that there'll be a wide range of people. But the funny part of the story is, and you'd have to read the interactions. But they asked me if I would do something. I said, sure. How about if I talk about music and cosmology? Oh, that sounds good. Send us an abstract. So I sent him a long thing with a title, and I got a response from them, which was enthusiastic. They want me to do it, but they don't have any idea what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
And could I please explain it? And I got slightly huffy and said, well, I did. That was the whole abstract. Well, maybe you could re explain it so that we can understand what you're talking about. Anyway,
Uh-huh. Did you find the disconnect? Like, what were they not appreciating on your view, or were you not
well,
communicating well?
my sense, and this is all made up,
Okay.
this is just, yeah, is that it doesn't obviously fit into the Jungian world
Hmm.
in a way that makes it clear to them what I'm going to talk about. you know?
Yeah. No, I was wondering how you feel about Young, or I know Corbin kind of didn't get brought into that world kind of correctly from knowing John talk about Corbin, but he was hugely influential and he seems to go beyond Young in a way that like I appreciate.
Yeah, I mean this gets complicated.
Okay, yeah. If you don't want to get there, go
No,
there.
no, it's okay. Although we do want to talk about music,
No, this is fun. This is great.
which I do want to do.
Yeah.
because I need your I need your moral support.
Absolutely,
Um,
yeah. No, I love the music stuff. I've been living in it all week.
yeah, yeah, so I just I have to do my I have to rewrite my abstracts so that I bring in some Jungian terms, you
Hmm.
know. Um, but the point is that sometime in the fall, I'm going to have to do this music thing for them, which will be kind of fun.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so there's that. So I'm committed to that. So it's going to be in my head. But then the amazing thing about the Corbin conference at the Harvard Divinity School, the most amazing thing was Trey Spruance and Secret Chiefs 3, um, because they played a concert.
Oh
How
wow.
long did they play? It was Trey and two of his longtime favorite musicians. A guy who plays something that looks like a viola da gamba, I think that's what it was, and
Okay.
another guy who's like multi instrumental, but he was mostly playing bass lines with the oud, and then with something pretty much like a normal electric bass.
Oh, that's
And then
awesome.
Trey Spruance was playing a quasi guitar like thing,
Okay.
but they were playing in non-Western tunings.
Yeah, yeah.
And I knew about Secret Chiefs 3 and I knew about Trey Spruance originally several years ago through somebody who knew my stuff and says, "Hey, there's this band that is really, really into Corbin." Cut to
That's
the chase
awesome.
here.
No, this is beautiful.
Yeah, so it turns out that Trey, who's a delightful guy, and I mean, actually, I suppose he and his two companions, I think they were probably the first real musicians. I mean, these that I've ever known. I mean, I know people in rock and blues and that kind of thing,
Yeah, yeah.
locals and whatnot. But these guys are the real deal. They're all super sophisticated, highly trained,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
professional musicians.
Yeah.
And Trey did a talk for this group of crazy
Oh
scholars
wow.
and poets that was just mind-boggling. I knew that he was into Corbin, but he's really into the so in Temple and Contemplation, in one of those, it's the chapter on the science of the balance. There are diagrams from the work of Haydar Amoli, and they're in Arabic, but they're
Yeah, yeah.
geometric diagrams. And what one of the things that Corbin is doing is showing analogies and homologies among the cosmological systems of these various people, and
Oh
he's using
wow.
Haydar Amoli as his. So he's got the diagrams and he's got the structure, which mirrors the structure of the Kaaba, which mirrors the structure of the celestial. It's all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
It's
know more of the
Corbin.
platonic stuff in that
Yeah,
realm, or
yeah, it's Corbin.
Pythagorean, or
Yeah, and it's
but
Corbin
wow.
at his most crazy. So it turns out that Trey has been reading Corbin for years and years and years, but also lots of others. I mean, Ibn
Oh yeah.
Arabi, he's all over the map. But what was astonishing is the degree to which some of his music, and as a footnote here, he is so eclectic that
I could
it
tell. I don't even know, but I
there's no way. I emphasize to him that I think he's in his 50s now, although
oh
I thought
nice.
he was in his 30s, which just goes to show how old I am. He's got to back up, and he's working on a website which explains all the different things that he has been and is currently engaged in, because he's got like 5 different versions of this band, or this musical group. You can't
Yeah,
call them a
yeah.
band. And most of them currently, the structure of the music is based on these mystical hierarchical things
Oh, wow.
at the level of extraordinary detail. And so
Huh.
he writes all this stuff out,
Wow.
but then he also leaves ample places for improv. And these guys,
Improv from someone that's so tuned in,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
been
yeah.
living this his whole life. That's gotta be just
Yeah, yeah,
awesome.
it was astonishing. So
Wow.
the setting is we're at the Harvard Divinity School. It's very pleasant. It's lovely,
Uh-huh.
not academic. It's kind of in the rich suburbs of Cambridge. You know, it's
Okay.
really very very nice.
That's cool.
But there's all these academics, and others too, which I'll get to in a minute. But there's all these sort of academic people, and everybody, the last event is the concert that these guys give, and it's in the
Okay.
afternoon. It's like not at night, but it's in the afternoon in a lovely little auditorium,
Yeah.
and they were so amazing. The music was obviously super sophisticated, but it was so exciting. They got a standing ovation from the little group of 30 or 40
Yeah,
people,
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Any
So
ecstatic dancing happening?
no, but it certainly could have. I felt
Wow.
like I should get up and do that.
Sounds awesome.
So that gives you the vague arm waving version of Trey and this particular trio, which is one of the offshoots of Secret Chiefs 3. And so it really pumped me up with regard to the whole musical cosmology
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I mean, he's integrating history, math,
And
religion, and music.
I
Yeah.
asked him if he would do, a couple of class lectures for me,
Oh, awesome. Wow.
which he was just thrilled to do
Oh, wow.
because he's been reading my stuff for a long time. So
Oh, perfect.
he was very excited to be meeting me and all
Yeah,
that. So it was
yeah.
really great. So one, I got to talk about music to the Atlanta people. Two, I've got to have a course in which Trey can come, but of
Uh-huh,
course
uh-huh.
that could fit into anything. What
Oh,
was
that's
the
great.
other? There another musical thing? Um, it's really just that. And so,
Oh, that's
I mean, I
excellent.
just have to do something in the fall, which revolves around music. I have not yet decided whether I want to do a whole course. I mean,
Uh-huh.
surely, the material is there.
Well, it's great because it falls under art, it falls under religion, it falls under
Yeah,
so imagination. Like there's so many ways. Like, what are you interested in? Is there like a part of this you have like that you're really eager to explore or
that's the question.
yeah, yeah.
So the classes, as you now know, whatever's going on in my head is what we talk about, and I
Yeah, yeah,
try,
no.
and so I'm 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 trying to figure out what it is I'm doing.
Yeah, where's the through line? Where's the
Yeah,
do you wanna
where's the through line? I mean, and there's I want well, here's another thing which fits in, and I'm not sure how yet, but I have to say, so how many people so Elliot Wolfson was there, and Todd Lawson and Chiara Bottici, and a long list of people whose work, I mean, a short list of people whose work I knew. And by the way, you get the newsletter, right?
No, I don't have any newsletter.
From me?
No.
Oh shit.
That's good. I
That's
can email
very
you
bad.
later. I'll get on that list or figure out how to do
Yeah,
that.
send me an email and I'll
I
put you on the
will.
list
Yeah.
and I'll send you the most recent newsletter, which
Cool,
is
cool.
very irregular, but it at least announces my courses.
Perfect.
But in the last one, I posted the talk I gave.
Oh, excellent. That's what I was going to ask. Was anything else recorded from the conference?
They didn't record
Oh,
anything. You
that's a
see,
bummer.
it wasn't open to the public because of
Hmm.
COVID rules.
Oh yeah, not that. Yeah.
There's a long story there. This was put off for 2 years,
Oh
and
wow, yeah.
everybody worked really hard on it, and it was hard. It
Huh.
was lucky. We were lucky it happened at
Yeah,
all.
that is good that it
Yeah.
manifest and got to
But
live.
anyway, I in the newsletter I sent around the thing that I wrote, which was
That's
very
cool.
well received, and I also sent around the program notes, which
Uh-huh.
it'll tell you everybody who was there, what
Yeah,
we
yeah.
did, and everybody's bios and abstracts.
Abstracts. Yeah, yeah.
So you definitely need to see that.
That's cool. Yeah.
Um, um, you know me, so I don't have to preface this with nonsense. I was really surprised to discover that people really do respect my work.
Oh, it's amazing. I was talking to someone 2 days ago, and I brought you up, and they were like, oh my God, this essay changed my life." And it was, and no, because you're what the world needs. Like when you were talking to John, you were talking about like wanting to re-enchant the world, and if
Yeah,
we're like we have these cognitive goggles on, these scientific materialist goggles on, you're like tapping them on the edge and trying to
yeah,
break into them, and it's
yeah, yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, no, you
That
appreciate
is
the beauty of life. Yeah.
that is that is true. And so at this late moment in my life, it was from that perspective really, I think, useful for the broader project,
Yeah, yeah.
for me to recognize that holy shit, people really take this stuff that I do really seriously, even the academics, you know?
Especially the ones that are kind of conscious and realize they're in Plato's cave and shackled to the boring world that they're locked into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I'm old enough, and I'm always in therapy with someone, and that helps.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I, you know, the danger of finding things like that out is inflation. And I check in with my therapist about these things,
That's
but
good. Yeah, yeah.
I don't, I don't think I'm actually inflated
Well, we were
by,
talking
by
when we talked
that.
about bugs in your course, and you still have that love of what drew you into biology, and I'm sure it's the
Yeah,
same for what drew you into Hillman and music. And it's when you lose the love, when it becomes like a symbol that
yeah,
starts to die,
yeah.
then but you can inhabit it and have all this power, and but you're still in love with life. That's what's so beautiful about the way you love life.
I haven't thought of for 40 years about why the Irish elk went extinct. Um, they apparently sexual selection pressures were on the males to have larger and larger. This is a story Stephen Jay Gould tells somewhere in one of his books. Their antlers got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because apparently the women were sort of, yeah, that looks good to me. I like those big antlers. I'll go with you. Eventually, they got so big, the guys couldn't hold them up anymore, you know, and they couldn't, they didn't have any energy left to do any copulating, you know. It's just, oh, hell, I got to give this up. Then she's got to decide, well, okay, he's obviously no good, you know, and you got to pick some other characteristic to select on the basis of. But the point fits perfectly with the argument here, which is that it's excess. It's enthusiasm. It's display. It's not fitness in the standard reductionist
Way you love
sense.
life.
Well, okay, that's extremely useful to hear. So,
Yeah.
because that's what I have to keep tracking those energies in order for what this is,
Well, to
whatever
add
this
to it,
is.
whenever I would share some of the stories from some of the books that we read, like the Sonic Possible Worlds, Dancing
Yeah,
the Streets was one of the best because it's almost built narratively, so you can just share it
that was
very,
a
very,
yeah. Isn't
yeah,
that
but
cool?
people light up to that. They always respond. So you're picking things that people crave or that they really respond to. And the the vitality that can mesh with the intellect,
That's it.
it's so awesome. Yeah.
that's actually super helpful because
Good.
because I'm I'm just finding out what it is that I do.
Yeah. Well,
You
yeah,
know,
you
I'm
said like now you're more Tai Chi, you're embodied, and you got the feedback of these people that love your work, but also
that's the
are,
thing.
yeah,
That's the thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
getting this positive feedback, and so it's a active navigation. It's a
Uh-huh.
process of active navigation for which you people out there in the world, I mean, without you, it wouldn't happen. You
Yeah,
know,
because you're beyond the safe
it's
gates of society. You are, and that's a Jungian kind of idea of like,
yeah,
okay, if you're gonna be original, you have to be outside of the walls, kind of. But the feedback, like you're not alone. You're
that's
surrounded,
right.
especially with the internet. There's so many people that are smart and bright and different and interested. Uh,
I'm yeah. So what I'm navigating now, part of what I'm navigating now is to figure out my role in that cooperative
yeah,
process.
yeah,
I mean, so I am me. um,
that's right.
but I'm not me all by myself.
Well, we're all participating.
Yeah,
That's the
we're all
whole thing.
participating. And so the question for the me part of that is what do I have to contribute to this process in which,
Yeah.
from the point of view of my collaborators in these seminars, I'm not just one of them. I'm me. They're there for me. But
Yeah.
if if it could easily go off wrong if I got inflated about that.
Sure,
You
sure,
you
sure.
know,
That's why the practices help so much and the humility and cultivating those while like not discarding the self. You don't want to become a slave to your dogma, but like the Tai Chi, chanting, um, just group practices. Like if sometime you ever want to do a group practice with like me and John, where we like do philosophy together around works of like Ibn Arabi or Corbin or Emerson or something. Like those things are the feedback because then you're in a harmony with other people, and the whole group might fall off the edge, I guess.
yeah,
But I mean, these
yeah.
people are pretty grounded, and they're all Buddhists and meditators, and so I think it's really hard to to have that the feedback is so important. That's why it's not just making things up as you go like a child does or something.
That's that's the trick. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And so I'm still wandering around in this space,
Mm-hmm.
these spaces, and I
Mm-hmm.
just that's really sort of helpful. But yeah, it's interesting. All of this stuff really is public group psychotherapy.
Yeah,
and
in the
yeah,
Stoic sense, therapy was
yeah,
part of Stoicism in the healing the soul, in the
yeah.
Socratic, you know, minding our own garden, cultivating ourselves.
And so add to
Yeah,
that, add to well, so the question is, what two umbrellas? Because I'll offer two courses in the fall,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they're always the same. you know, I don't know what to do about that because if I only offer one course, I don't get quite enough people because I
Uh-huh.
get. But if I offer two that look very different, I get some overlap, but I'll get two different groups of
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
In
yeah.
spite of the fact that in reality both courses are going to be pretty much the same because it's me. One on
Well, I don't know. I
Tuesday.
didn't feel like I learned a lot about Hillman in our course, so it
Okay,
must have been
good.
somewhat different.
Okay, good. so 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 I need, yeah, well, but that's the frustrating thing because all of a sudden I'll be in the music course and I'll realize, oh shit, these people haven't read this. It's the people in the other course that have read this. So I'm very often, I want everybody in both courses to be in both courses, so
Uh-huh.
that because I am, you know. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's an irresolvable. So question is,
That's
what
back
am
to
I
part of
good?
that marketing and planning, like
Well, it
the
is.
dirty stuff that is not your kind of strength, maybe.
Art proper, in other words, emerges when sensation can detach itself and gain an autonomy from its creator. Well, think of the Irish elk with its antlers. Thwonk! Oh, damn. That's an example of the artistic creation having established an autonomy over its creator, the male elk. And whoops, in this case, it didn't work, right? But it's that sense of, I'm doing this. Let's see what happens, you know? Um, No, but it's nice though because it keeps me from being monolithic. I
Hmm.
mean, that tension between two apparently is different subject matters is often useful. So, but the
Hmm.
point is that Trey will come to at least one of my classes, and
Yeah,
I think I
yeah.
can con him into the giving a talk like the one he did down in Cambridge,
That's
which is
awesome. Yeah.
fantastic. So I'll definitely do that. The other possibility is that I could just run like two classes. I mean, just two
Oh, yeah,
individual,
yeah. People do that. Yeah.
just say here's going to be two with Trey Spruance, and
Yeah,
people could
yeah.
sign up for that as a third thing.
Hmm.
So I
And
might
that's kind of
well
fun
do
because it lets
that.
people that are like busy participate. Because
That's
I
right.
know I have a friend who runs courses like you do, and the only thing I was able to do because of my schedule was like this weekend about Play-Doh. So it was like Saturday and Sunday, and
Mm,
I did like some pre stuff with some friends for a few weeks, reading, and then jumped into this awesome
yeah,
weekend.
yeah. Yeah, weekends are well in the regular part of the year. I will think about that. I'll think about that. I mean, so things are a little bit more in flux. I hadn't brought this to bear on thinking of, I mean, as as I hadn't brought these new realizations, whatever they are,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
bear on the fall courses this explicitly. So it's partly what I want, but it's and I'm me, so that's going to take
No, that
center
should always be.
stage. It's okay. It's okay. But I want to do I want to I want to I want to give people what it is that they appreciate.
Right, right.
I
That's always
want
the balance of
to
like life is caring about yourself in a way that helps the world
yeah, I
without
really want to
losing one or
do
the
that.
other. Yeah.
And so that's a little tricky because, well, I haven't written anything for a long time. I did sit down and spit out this thing for Cambridge, which was very well received.
Yeah, yeah. That's
You'll
awesome.
see. Yeah. It was really well received, which kind of stunned me. And so yeah, I mean, so that's a thing. And 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 the next question, irrespective of all, well, no, that's not true. The next question, which, yeah, you see, I was just making that distinction.
Yeah.
That's, I was just making, that's helpful. So in the past, when I was writing the books, they were always for me because didn't have much choice. It was
Uh-huh.
compelled. It
Yeah,
was
yeah. Something was in
as
there. just building,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it
it's
needed to
just I
go.
have to get this stuff out. It was less and less true as time went along, so that
Yeah, yeah.
the last book was not as compelled as the others. But
Well,
it's been a
luckily it
long
was beautiful
time.
too. It was useful and beautiful, and not just
Yeah,
compelled and messy and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So the whole thing worked. But the question for me, from my side of this, is what, if anything, am I going to do next? I mean, it could just be that I'll just talk my way into my grave, and
Uh-huh.
I'll never write another thing.
Yeah, the
But I,
danger of the success too early, or
no,
or
no,
living under your
no,
success, or what do
I,
you mean?
I'm not. No, I'm not that. I'm not. It's not too early because I'm old. you know, but the question is, what am I going to do next? Am I just going to take my guitars and play and all by myself? But I know, and I also know from writing this little piece for Cambridge that writing is very different. I mean, talking
Uh-huh.
extemporaneously, and you can bring in anything that occurs to you. But
Right, right.
when you're writing, there's a really super amazing variety of enabling constraints that you can impose on yourself. And I am in the moment, as I look at it, I'm thinking I really should be writing something.
Mm-hmm.
A, it'd be good. Well, I actually B, it would we'll start with B.
Yeah.
It might be useful for people.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I feel about that? Well, I feel kind of weird about that because
Why? Yeah.
I can I say this?
Please.
Yeah, I can say this in public. So this weird thing happens on occasion. And it happened in Cambridge. And when was the first time? Oh, the first time it ever happened to me was in one of the talks I gave for the Temenos Academy. Probably the first talk. So that was a while back. That was like 10 or 12 years ago or more. That was a
Okay.
while ago. Anyway, every once in a while, I'll be at one of these live events and I'll do my piece. And afterwards, people will come up to me, and it's not always, but it's often women, and they just have this deer in the headlights look in their eyes. It's like, what the hell did you just do?
Uh-huh.
you know, um, and I mean, yeah, I kind of like that, but I never knew what it was.
Uh-huh. What is this? Yeah.
But now I kind of do, and I had it happen in Cambridge. This person came up to me afterwards and was like, "Take me to your leader."
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, man, but that was wild. Can we
Uh-huh.
have more of that?
Yeah, yeah.
And I like producing things that have that effect
Yeah, yeah.
because they make me happy too.
Right, because there's this part of people that you're tapping into that they don't even maybe know it's there, or they've
That's
forgotten it's
right.
there. And
That's
all of a sudden
right.
they're like, oh,
Oh my God.
yeah, we have electricity in the village or something. I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. We have electricity in the village. Yeah, that's brilliant. That's exactly it.
Yeah, I know
That's
what you're talking
that's
about.
I will not forget that. I'll
Okay.
probably forget that you said it, but
No, take it. It's
but
yours. Yeah. That's
that's
awesome.
super great. Yeah. Uh, because when in my early years as a teacher, and I sort of fell into teaching because what do you do after you get out of grad school?
Right.
Back in those days, you
Yeah,
could get a job.
biologist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could in fact still get jobs teaching. It was not easy, but you could still do it.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
God help you if you didn't
No, I
come from
lived in that world.
Princeton.
Yeah, it's depressing. People that
Yeah,
go into postdoc
yeah,
limbo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just bad. But what I discovered, the point
Yeah.
was that,
Yeah, this woman that came up pie-eyed
yeah,
and
yeah, I mean, what I
wistful.
discovered in teaching was that holy shit, this is exciting. I love it when they get
That was kind of the point, is to
that
expose
was the
people to alternative views
that
that
was the
men
whole
make them
point.
question their life and go in new directions, right? Like
And
that's
now I'm getting the great gift of being able to do that
Yeah,
again.
well, the
You
death
know?
of humanities as they stab away the art departments and all and sweep away all the funding for humanities. You're the humanities. You're the beacon of who is
Yeah,
Oedipus and who is Freud and who
yeah,
is,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. No, it's problematic. So, um, so those are the two side, the two things that I'm trying to keep in balance.
Yeah, yeah,
One is the whatever it is that drives me, and I need to stay really close to
right.
that. But I want to do it in such a way that people are interested. But I think it would go off wrong. So that's where the marketing doesn't work. Because then you start thinking of yourself as from the outside.
Yeah, you have to be careful and not like iconize yourself or mythologize yourself too much.
Yeah, because then it's not real.
Yeah, you're
You,
killing
you
the
know,
freedom that gave
and
you
you
the
pretty soon
life.
you've
Yeah.
because in the moment you have to not give a shit what anybody else thinks. So
Uh-huh.
the reterritorialization metaphor applies every time the fit is awkward, maladaptive, not quite right, not quite missing, not quite fitting, and there's something a little bit wrong. And she says that's where whoosh. That's where the creativity always is. It's just marvelous. Fundamentally, life is fundamentally dynamic, awkward, and maladapted. Because if it weren't a little bit, then it would be a homeostatic mechanism and nothing would ever happen. Nothing would ever else thinks.
Uh-huh.
And yet, the whole project is about what other people think.
You are
Sort
in the
of.
world. Yeah. No, I used to play competitive games and I did the best a lot of times when I wasn't trying. When I just like showed up and was paying attention, but in the freedom of like, who cares? And so it
Oh,
is dangerous, but you can't live in the arrogant freedom of who cares and stop your
perfect.
passion. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah, that is exactly it. And so I guess yeah, I guess I'm in this semi awkward. It feels awkward to me position. I have since I started doing this online teaching a couple of years ago,
Yeah, yeah.
which essentially is just me free associating for 2 hours.
No, you give
Um,
yourself credit because you pick great books and you put a lot of effort in. And I did see one lesson where you said like I didn't do much reading, and everyone else like me neither. But still, like you have such richness in you that like the flow states you get into when you teach are not just naive, arrogant, look at meing.
yeah.
And again, like that's why the philosophy part, when you keep the things that
Mm,
you find reverence in the
mm,
center and let
mm.
yourself participate with everyone around it. Like,
That's really helpful because
oh,
you see
good.
what you're helping me do is to get a boy, it's hard to. I should be using organic metaphors, not architectural metaphors. That's interesting. Uh, isn't that interesting? What I was going to say, what you're helping me do is to get a framing, get
Mm-hmm.
a architecture for understanding how to think about this relationship between me and the people who are my seminar participants. And my this often happens that my immediate metaphors are structural or
That's how we relate.
architectural
Yeah.
or but I don't like that. That's not good because
Use the
then
body
immediately
like the shoulder to the elbow or
there you go. There
the
you go. I mean, I'm supposed to be a biologist. Why don't biological metaphors show up? Well, they're harder.
well, buildings are part of nature. We make them look so different than nature, but a beehive and a beaver dam are architectural and they're quite
Yes.
organic.
Yeah, you see, I want to go in with a little screwdriver and eliminate those architecture's fine. I want to eliminate. Oh, actually, some weird thing just clicked into place,
Great.
which I don't know if I can explain it to you.
Sure.
Yes, I can, because you're helping me find a way to this kind of writing or thinking that I'm trying to figure out how to do, which is explicitly midway between poetry and standard prose.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I mean, that's where it
Like
needs to
poetic
be.
prose. Yeah. Where
Yeah,
you're,
so
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm feeling. I mean, I did get published a book of poetry, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You talked about that during the course.
I actually kind of like those poems now. It's okay. But I mean, the sense I have is that it was the process of writing those was something I had been implicitly aiming at for a long, long time. Because from one point of view, if you pass through Corbin and Hillman and Jung, what does that leave you? It leaves you poetry. It's
Hmm.
about the only thing. It
Well, that's where
seems.
we put it today, but it's really spiritual. It's really like
Yeah.
relational
Yeah.
and
Oh, by poetry I mean
okay,
this
fair
this
enough. Yeah, you don't mean
this
little kid poetry and Jack and
yeah, I
Jill and
mean this
rhyming and
bigger
stuff.
thing which
Yeah,
has
yeah.
been lost by most people, and I'm trying to
Sufi
re
poetry, maybe.
yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Um so there became this in my little personal universe. I had the prose of maybe the first book, which is pretty academic, because it was supposed to be, and the poetry of the poems. And there's this chasm. And I think, in a way, all the books, as they progressed, were getting closer and closer to something on the poetry end. And then I had the poems. But they were so out there. I mean, what am I supposed to do with those in public? You can read them in public. But what I want,
Yeah.
what I want is, in the best of all possible worlds, a form of language, either written or spoken, which seamlessly ties the two ends together.
Hmm.
And I know there are people who have done that. There's a guy named David Antin, who's, I think, passed away now, who was famously a talker. A lot of his stuff got published as poetry, but I'm pretty sure all he was doing was just
Yeah.
riffing. And everybody talks about how wonderful his stuff was, and I've got one of his books somewhere, but I couldn't read it. But anyway, the point,
Yeah, no, you need dialogues or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
the point is, I do
Oh, that's
want
great.
to think clearly through a lot of the material that has been coursing through us for a couple of years. And I want to get it down on a page, but I want to maintain that. I don't want to fall into academic jargon, or if I do it, just do it for a little bit. And then, so all I'm
Hmm.
saying is that I'm looking for a way to tie together my free association that I do when I'm speaking and something a little more obviously written, to get to get a good flow going between the written and the oral forms of
Yeah,
language.
yeah. Well, it's like a philosophy you've been learning, and you've been seeing the world differently, and bringing all this stuff in, and it's speaking to each other,
And now
and now you're seeing the world differently.
I want to be able to write that down in a way which captures some of the excitement of the in the moment,
Uh-huh.
and yet is repeatable on the page. It's actually a tahwil, that kind of thing. So whatever that kind of writing is, I
It's a
want
style,
to
yeah.
try to do it.
I had a professor in college, you might appreciate this, and it was part of a multi-lecturer course. And so the other two or three lecturers were always really technical, easy to follow. This one guy would walk in and put 47 words on the board that he would define throughout the 2 hours. And it was very easy to follow. And then this other woman, her name was Barbara Bird. And it felt like she was just talking to you at a cafe and she liked you and you were just, and then at the end, they're like, oh, we have to know some of this for the test, because there was so much knowledge in her kind of casual dialectical style,
Yeah.
but it didn't feel like that. It felt so personal and tender and like spontaneous, and she would cite the same high quality things that other academics would, but there was like something that maybe they had to push away to be a teacher that she pulled closer or something like that. It was very personal.
Yes. Oh, that's nice. By the way, let me, as a footnote, just say I really enjoy having you in class because because you'll come up with these little things every now and then, and you'll raise your little hand, you'll say, well, and then you'll come out with a great sentence or great
Great.
phrase, which is super helpful. Um,
Thanks,
so I
Tom.
really like having you there. Here's a question. I mean, kind of a marketing question, actually, but I don't quite mean it in that way. What do you want?
Well, no, yeah, no, I love the music and the dance stuff, and I don't. I just started exploring the like the depth psychology more. I have young books that I bought 20 years ago, and um, he was so like the same way Heidegger is really hard for me to break into. It's so stodgy and technical, and you could feel the gold, you could feel it in there. But I just
Mm-hmm.
my poetic Henry Thoreau,
Ah,
Emerson loving brain just kind of can't penetrate Jung the same way, or I just
oh
don't
no,
want
no,
to.
he's a terrible writer.
Right, and
Have
that's
you?
what I love about like kind of your courses. It's accessible. You pick really great books, and you take things like that are possible perceptions, and you like explode them open, and you give me ideas. And like when you were saying you'd go into an art museum with one artist and just live there for a week, I was like, oh, I could do that. That had never really occurred to me. Like there's a Dali museum, and I've done that with him because it's all his works. But otherwise, I go to museums, it's like just hodgepodge, and I leave with like a generally good feeling or a generally artistic feeling. But
Yeah.
this idea that you can kind of like, I loved when you said, deterritorialize and reterritorialize. There's something about the psyche that it needs to both be negated and then filled. And
Mm,
so like that's kind of what I was getting out of that course is you go, okay, well, here's this awesome way to think about dance, and then here's this awesome way to think about dramas and movie, and it keeps opening me up and then letting me get rid of the trash, and then so there's this whole kind of like almost erotic
yeah.
interplay
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
in the good sense, in
Yeah.
the kind of classic sense. And so like and I haven't done the more psychological Hillman stuff. I don't know if it's kind of similar, but just the fact
Mm.
that it was something I was really interested in, that you gave me a place to explore, and also you're so articulate. You're a writer, you're a speaker, you're a teacher. You have all those different kind of heads of the hydra
Fancy
that
as
you're
these.
able to
But that was his sense of things, that you really needed to understand life not as a homeostatic mechanism trying to maintain equilibrium, but a kind of constant response of adaptation and maladaptation and constant creativity between, well, the extremes would be, well, crystals, crystalline perfection, just dead, and utter randomness, utter chaos, which maybe is something that doesn't even exist. I mean, I would suggest that in this picture, there is no such thing as utter chaos because there's the world of geology, which she rightly points to. And so it's never utter chaos, but it sure might look like chaos to the
hydra
organism. Like,
that you're able to, or maybe like Faces of the Muse is better than like
mm,
a evil
mm,
monster metaphor. But like you have all the
yeah,
different like kind of perspectives from your lifetime of stuff. So it really goes, oh wow, at first it was a little weird because you're so spontaneous. But as soon as I learned that was just you, I go, oh, this is great. I can just kind of jump in and kind of see what I can play with and what's happening. And then again, the books you pick are so good. So then
mm,
they give me the technical part, or if I want to dig deeper, I can do
okay.
that. So it all is kind of this moving dynamic that allowed me to grow in a
Okay. That's actually super helpful to hear this kind of. Yeah, that's really helpful. Because what we do together is so fluid.
Hmm.
It's really, yeah. I mean, it's so at this point, after however many years I've been doing it, the online stuff, which I don't know, it's longer than I think it is. It's 3 or 4. I don't know. I think I'm just beginning to get a. I'm beginning to get a better sense of how to do this. Because there are no constraints. We can do whatever the hell I say we're doing,
Hmm.
and that can, that's not necessarily a good thing. You need constraints to work
Yeah,
within,
yeah.
and I guess what you're saying reflects the kind of behavior on the part of the seminar participants that I would have hoped for, but I've never been that explicit, and I should be a little more explicit. My problem often, from a marketing point of view, is like you said, when you come to the first class, you've never been in one of my classes. That can be kind of weird for people, you know. And so I often kind of feel bad, and I think I should let them know what's going to happen.
Well, and you're consistent, and I think like as long as it is people that kind of know who you are ahead of time, then they're going to quickly go, "Oh, that's Tom," and
Yeah,
probably fall in love with it. Or, like
or
you said,
not.
like feedback is important too, and structure can be useful. And you
Yeah,
experiment too. I remember you tried the breaks out a little bit, and some days we had more talking and stuff. Like
yeah, yeah,
it is a little bit of
yeah.
Wild West online teaching. I've been online teaching for like 9 years now or so, but it's very much. I remember when we started, we were almost the industry leaders in a lot of ways, and we're like, I hope we're doing it right. And luckily, we had a lot of really smart people that kind of kept giving us great ideas, and the engineers were helpful, and all
Mm.
this team and stuff. But then people do it so differently. Like I don't know if you know about the Stoa with Peter Limberg. I know you know him
Uh,
a little bit.
I no, not really.
Oh,
Tell me
really?
so I can write it down because then
Yeah.
I might remember it.
Yeah, so he runs this kind of website place called the Stoa, and
Oh,
he's
oh, you mentioned it. I think
yeah.
you mentioned it. So tell me about it.
Well, so he's great because he's just this really warm, curious person who has a great personality, and he reaches out to people like you, or he's had Noam Chomsky and like John Vervaeke, and so he brings in these variety of people, kind of the same way you bring in these variety of books, and then he gives them a space, and then he's experimented with things like where people do Tai Chi, and this like awesome Zen master almost makes chi fly through the internet, and
Mm,
he has
mm,
people that are academics and they didn't land very well, but they have an interesting thing to say, and it's just
hmm
they're all interested in his community and kind of digital wisdom and self-transformation, and there's a lot of system thinkers as well that, like you said,
mm.
they want the Jungian perfect system to see the
Yeah,
world through.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the format has changed the way he does it, but he has like usually, I don't know, 25 to 50 or more people, so that makes the second part easier. But he'll have a speaker come up that he'll introduce, and then he'll dialogue with them, mostly just to answer questions he likes and to give them a platform to kind of jump out of. So he'll ask a question, and they'll talk, or then they'll give maybe a 30 to 45-minute talk, and then the audience will come up with questions. And so he kind of figured this format out, and it seems to work pretty well, and he had a lot of success, and there was a lot of right place, right time because it happened during COVID and people were starving
Yeah,
for community and
yeah,
wisdom and all those kind of things.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, we're in the Wild West a little bit.
Yes, that's right, and that's yeah, it's got yeah, it's good and bad.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I'm gonna have to whether this all changes anything about the way I do things remains to be seen.
Yeah,
Um,
just ideas. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but um, oof, I'm glad I have time before the fall. Because I still have to think
Yeah, yeah.
how
It's
I'm
really what do
gonna.
you want? I mean, I think that's the most
Well, it
important
is.
question because
Yeah.
it's got to be interesting for you
Right.
first.
Right. And the music is still still a thing. And I've got three or four other. Yeah, I think it's just gonna take a little while. And then there's this other group of people who overlap a bit with my current group of seminarians. I guess that's yeah, seminarians. That's okay. There are people in the seminars. There's another group. They mostly just want to know about Henri Corbin. Well,
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of tired of that.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I do it every I do at least one every year just to see. And with Corbin, you can go pretty much all sorts of interesting
Yeah,
places.
yeah. I liked how you brought him up. I thought it was really interesting, especially the first day. You gave
Yeah,
us a little paper, and then I used that to jump into some other things.
yeah.
But if it's dead to you, you don't want to force it and
Yeah,
make it
no,
more.
that's right. Well, no, it's super useful to have you say that you were using the readings as I kind of intend. If it's a
Mhm.
book that you love, read it. If it's a book that doesn't turn you on, ignore it and wait and see what I say about it.
Well, that's how I got into you is because you post the
Mm.
syllabi, and then I would go and I go, oh, this is cool, and I'd get one of the books that you listed, and I'm like, oh, this is so awesome, and then I was like literally kind of waiting and waiting and waiting for you to post the next schedule, and then I emailed you and go, oh, cool, like which of these
Well,
is
wait,
probably
but
better?
that is the newsletter. If you're where are you
I was getting it
seeing?
from the website. I was going to your website and
Oh
just
yeah,
finding it.
I am
Yeah.
I am really bad at updating that website.
Yeah, you need to apprentice. You need to find a
I
young,
know.
enthusiastic person to pay little or no money to
Yeah,
that can learn from you and
yeah.
provide. There's so many young people with these digital skills.
Mm, right, right. Well, if you find anybody, let me know. But
Yeah, no, I
yeah,
mean
yeah.
definitely I will. I mean I would even be interested in doing stuff like this and I've studied economics, computer programming, and there's
Mm.
people out there that are
I
amazing at
used
that stuff.
I used to be a programmer. I
Oh,
was
really?
pretty I was pretty good, but that was a long time ago. That was back in the theoretical biology version
Oh,
of
that's
me.
cool.
Uh, yeah, but those talents just disappear with time because
Of course, yeah.
the hardware and software changes out from underneath you, and if you come back 10 years later, forget it. Uh,
Yeah. Well, the nice thing now is there's so much free stuff that's so high quality. These apps are just getting better and better. I do artistic things I couldn't do 20 years ago because
yeah.
it's all AI. And as long as I have a vision, and like I
Mm.
said, I've done enough programming and technical stuff and research that I can and I like learning a lot. So I'll learn the little bits I need and then go, oh,
Ah.
cool, this AI software can manifest what I am seeing in my head. Uh,
Mm.
so it's,
Huh.
yeah.
In an email, point me to some of what you're talking
Sure,
about.
sure. And that's where a lot of the learning is because you find these apps and you search and
Yeah.
but
I.
yeah, yeah. Because I used to run an eBay business
Mm.
and that's all you have to market. So, like, I was great at generating money stuff, but then if you just copy other good people, well, you can become a
Yeah.
good marketer because there's so much
Yeah.
free data on the internet. And
Wow.
I wrote
Yeah.
little feedback apps that would generate feedback for people with and yeah, like the beautifying and sharing your gold or whatever is
Yeah.
two separate things, but it's never been easier. And now that you can market to half a billion or half the world or whoever's on the English speaking internet, uh,
Yeah.
allows you to be really, really niche and do musicology 5
Yeah.
only about caveman music or something
Right.
and
Right.
find the 20
Exactly.
people or 10 people that want to do it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I don't. Yeah. I don't pay much attention to that. But because I don't want more than 25. That would
Yeah,
be
no, my friend
that's
does that too that runs courses and he caps it even if people want to
yeah.
add. He goes, no, this is This is
This
the
is,
size that needs to work.
yeah,
You can't
yeah.
have a mega church. The music gets lost in the.
Right, right. Oh man. Okay. Wow. Okay. All right, it's 11. I
Yeah,
should
yeah.
probably go.
Okay.
But okay, first, this was super useful for me. I
Good.
mean, really, it was really
Yeah,
super
I had a
useful.
blast.
And yeah, and so send me an email that reminds me to put you on the newsletter
Yep.
link. And then when I've done that, I will send you a link to the last one, which has the info about
Awesome.
the Cambridge thing, which was really too bad it was closed to the general public because it was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
But
that is.
you'll see cool stuff in there, and these people who were there doing interesting things. And if you're not aware of them, their bios and stuff, and their abstracts are super interesting.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
awesome. I'm
um,
looking forward to it.
yeah, and right, if you yeah, we should. We'll definitely connect again in the fall.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to do a group practice with like some philosophers on some of the stuff I was talking about, or even like we were talking about in the class, do a couple more interviews with a third person or things like that, where we just talk about a topic.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't want to.
yeah.
I want to be as mindful of your time as possible, and I'm so appreciative that we're doing this.
Well, my uh, psycho. What's a good? Uh, my it's a long standing um, uh, uh, flaw in my personality is that I don't like to schedule things in advance.
Oh,
But of course,
sure.
this is a terrible problem because because it means you have to live your life alone. Because if you want to do anything with other people, you got to pick a time and
No,
commit
honestly, I
to
had the
it.
same problem when I was in grad school. I keep trying to hang out like spontaneously. I drop in on people. Hey, what do you? And they're like, in 3 weeks, 7 days, 2 hours, I'll be free. And I was
Yeah.
so lonely because I was like that too. And I finally learned I just had to like anticipate my loneliness and schedule with people way in advance.
Right,
And
here's
it
when I'm
was
gonna
so
do
weird.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and so during the summer, I get to live
yeah, yeah.
free of these constraints, which becomes tiresome. And then by September, you think, oh, September, we have to have classes.
Uh-huh.
you know, After being in academia for so long, September's when you do classes. And then you do have to have Tuesday, Thursday at a particular time. Anyway, the point is
Yeah.
that we could do this again. I could maybe do something, suggest things to
Yeah, I
me, and
will.
then
I
I'll
think, yeah,
respond.
I'll just like bring like the dog that brings or the cat that brings the dead bird by once in a while. I'll just kind of come up to your door and see if you're
Yes,
interested.
yes. Do that.
Not with
Do
dead
that.
birds though, because
no, no. Uh, but at any rate,
with
okay,
like John
good.
Vervaeke's and
Right,
other creative people. Yeah.
right. Okay. Well, that's cool. Thank you for your input. This was really
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm glad I could be relevant for you.
Something musical will occur in the fall. At least the Trace Bruin Secret Chiefs thing.
Yeah, that's excellent. I'm gonna dig into him a little bit soon.
Maybe I think maybe that'll be a standalone. If I can get him to commit for two or maybe more
Hmm.
little 2 hour sessions, maybe that would be like a separate thing. Trace
Yeah, yeah,
Bruance and me, and mostly Trey talking about his music. You'd get a real kick out of this guy.
yeah. He sounds deep and smart and
Oh,
creative. Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah, and an incredible musician. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
man, he plays so many different instruments, and he's writing a ballet now. I don't know for who, but this guy is the real deal.
yeah.
He's written pieces for the Kronos Quartet. I mean, he is the real deal. Really amazing. And I'll get in touch with him and see
That's awesome.
what I can
And he
getting
loves your work. That's so awesome.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. So I think there's a takeaway. I will guarantee some music thing with Trey, and maybe we'll make that a standalone that people can sign up for. I will talk to him about that. That sounds really good.
cool.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go outside and do things with my garden.
Enjoy the summer, Tom. It was so great to talk to you.
Okay, great. It was really good to see you. I miss my students during the summer, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if I'm up that way, I'll definitely give you a ring too. And
Please do.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, that for sure. That'd be great. Okay.
Perfect. All right.
I'll see you.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye.